I wasn't asking, Chris. I was telling.
We're live. Rattle can.
I was telling you,
Sarcastic
Chris.
Grandpa. Sarcastic Grandpa.
This isn't
Always
an
first.
ask. This is a tell, baby.
Always first, Sarcastic Grandpa. And by first, I mean last. And by last, I mean first.
What? I'm confused.
You're the first to show last.
What? I'm confused.
Welcome,
6!
everybody. 6?
Yeah. This will
Just
be 7.
6?
This will be 7. 7?
Avian, Anna, M3 Stout, Sugar Rush, Lumberjack.
Hello!
What's going on, everybody?
Welcome. Welcome to Thursday. Time for therapy. Jason's therapy is I need more models primed.
You like priming models, don't you?
No, my producer does, but he failed me. So I came and did it.
I don't prime your models anymore. I retired from that.
That's not a thing you don't get.
I did. I retired.
I want to live in a world where you just get to retire from part of your job.
I retired from that part.
I want to live in this world.
If I'm the first person to ever do that out there, let it be known.
I want to retire. I want to be in this world, Chris, where I just get to retire from the parts of the job.
Oh my!
What?
No, I'm just. That's the reality. I've done it. I've retired.
I don't think that's how that works. But
Cells TG Arena says, "Hey, how's it going? Missed you the last few days to ask if you ever painted a sister's model in the Sacred Rose style of white with red accents."
White armor, red accents. Yes, I can't say I've painted every Sisters of Battle color scheme, but when they first came out, second edition or whatever, I painted a bunch without really knowing about the game.
Oh, okay.
And then when they had the new ones come out later, in the 90s or whatever it was, I painted an absolute crap ton of those. Mostly black armor, a lot of red, and a couple of white. But yeah, I haven't in a long time. I haven't cared for Sisters of Battle in forever.
Why haven't you cared?
I'm not a very caring individual.
You should care more about Sisters of Battle.
The honest opinion is, and I have not painted any since they came out with like the big, Dreadnought Walker kind of things. So they have some neat new models, but they got just really bland. It's like they only had like 3 models, right? The heavy weapon sister, the regular sister, and a Canoness, and there was like nothing else. Now they have like jump pack ones and ones that are in like the mecha suits, which I think are really cool. So there's a bunch of really neat sister stuff, but the tanks bore me.
Yeah.
The whatever it's called with the big organ pipes on it and all that.
He's using a Grex airbrush. Our Grex collaboration with Grex from a little bit ago. We do not sell them anymore. And Jason, what PSI are you using?
22.
Why do you use a lower PSI?
Is that low? I don't feel like that's low.
Is it?
15 is low.
Oh. Okay, let me rephrase that. Why do you like 22?
It's the right amount of pressure to get paint out at just about any viscosity. So if I'm spraying thicker, it works great. If I'm spraying thinner, it works great. It doesn't blow over the miniature when I'm doing like glazing. The biggest thing that a lot of people like is high pressure makes sure that the thicker hobby paints that you may be using spray because it forces more paint out a smaller aperture. Yep. And a lot of our competitors' paints are pretty thick.
Yeah.
So since we only use Pro-Acryl, I don't need it to be any higher.
Okay.
I do know people that I always make fun of Aaron Lovejoy because he sprays at like 45 PSI is insane.
It's just kind of his feel he's gotten used to.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just personal feel. I that question is always kind of loaded because I'm like, I'm not telling you need to spray like I do. This has worked for me over the years. At right around 22, 25 max, sometimes 20, just depends on like the humidity, barometric pressure, wherever I'm at. But 22 has been where I've sprayed at since years. Colorado, Arizona, New York, even in humidity. I typically have found that this is the right spot for me because it gives me good control.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't overblast paint on the model with it, but I have been airbrushing for way too many years. And so one of the things I will say is that as you get confident, the things like the pressure you can dial in and kind of set and forget. When you're new, you may find yourself adjusting pressure quite a bit. Nothing wrong with that at all. Okay. Some people like to go with lower PSI as they thin the paint down so that they feel like it's not, when they spray it, it doesn't like spider web out all over the place.
Yeah.
And that's great. So use that feature. A lot of airbrushes have like a little needle stop on the back that you can do so you don't pull the needle back too far. Use it. Use all the tools available to you, even if you see people that you watch out in the world spraying not use those tools. I don't use them any of them. I literally just need the thing to be at 22 PSI point and press the button. That's it.
Yeah.
And I can do just about anything with it. So, but until you get to that point, start, playing around with it.
Yeah. Okay.
I would say don't go over 30 PSI because you wind up that a lot of the cheaper airbrush hoses that they put out today are rated at that. And you don't want to pop a hose while you're painting or something.
That's a good point.
That's why I always laugh at Aaron at 45 PSI or whatever. I'm like, that hose is only rated to 30. He's like, screw that hose. He's like, I've never had a problem. And he's probably right. I mean, the hose can handle more. They just rate it for whatever consumer, thing to say, don't go over 30 PSI.
CJ says, good afternoon. I just got an Iwata Neo, never air painted before. What things should I do to practice on paper before I start on the model? Thank you. What could you practice with an airbrush?
I like practicing on sprue, just so you get a feel for how the paint you're going to do is going to go into a non-porous surface. Because remember, painting on paper is going to be a lot different because when the paint hits it, it absorbs into the paper immediately. And so it doesn't give you the same effect that it will across hard plastic. So you might not see the same problems happen on paper. If you do want to shoot on paper, shoot on something like poster board that has a slick side, like a harder slick side, and spray there because it's less porous. It's still porous, but it has kind of a gloss to it. So that makes it skate around the surface a little bit more so that you're not surprised when you're like, oh yeah, I can spray these lines on paper and this feels great. And then you go and point it at a model and it, spreads out all over the place because the surface is hard and slick. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But yeah, practicing on paper towels, practicing on anything so you can get your lines straight. I think really the big key is to be able to learn how to press the button, get paint, release the button, stop. And do it all in a smooth motion, right? So that you can sit here and as you go across, you can say, I want to start the paint and then I want to stop the paint.
Yeah.
Right. And then you can, as you get to where you're doing more stuff, if you're just learning, then you're probably just going to be base coating. And so base coating, you just want to learn how to feather the paint, keeping the brush moving like you see my hand doing here. I'm always kind of doing the paint to where if I were to, let me get in close and I'll see if I can make this happen. But if I get in close and I move the brush like I do, you should see a lot of little curly cues, right?
Yeah.
Like corkscrewing. That's the pattern that I'm painting with to get full coverage. Because it keeps the brush from spraying paint too long in any one spot. Because it can start to spider web out, pool. I'm out of paint, so it's a bad example. But we'll talk about it a lot because I'm going to be doing a lot of airbrushing today. So great questions.
Yeah. What kind of thinner, what's your thinning ratio between pro acryl and thinner? He doesn't really use a thinner.
You'll see a lot of that we'll talk about today. So if you can kind of keep that question on tap, and watch me spray, I'll tell you. You can use as much or as little as you like is the real answer. Now, as a beginner, I would say that it is probably going to be best to cut the paint a little bit, maybe 2 parts paint, 1 part thinner. I suggest using water and not airbrush thinner.
Not like actual thinner.
Yeah, not like actual airbrush thinner. A lot of times actual airbrush thinner might have a little bit of alcohol in it or some other component to it. And to start out, it's probably better to get used to just using water. So if you can think about 2 drops of paint, 1 drop of water, then you'd probably be pretty good. Remember that as you thin, so that it makes it feel comfortable to spray, you're also thinning the opacity and it won't cover as well. So people can go hog wild and be like 50-50. And then when you spray it, it doesn't give you the color you want, right? Because it's not as vibrant when you thin it down. So you'll learn what works for you. I typically, when I'm actually thinning to spray, is about 50-50, to be honest. And I use our glaze wash medium with then like a little bit of water, perhaps.
John C. says, maybe you guys should make a flow aid, ?
Our glaze wash medium is a good flow improver. Okay, what is this? 3, 6, 9. Oh, did I finish?
Oh, aren't you gonna? Why don't you keep priming your other dudes?
Well, wow. Dance monkey dance, huh?
You weren't planning on doing that? You weren't planning. I'm sorry.
I was really just going to prime one unit and then start putting color on them, so I wasn't priming the whole day. But
no, that's good.
But
that's
I could.
No. I thought you were going to. I think your actual idea is the way to go. Okay. Welcome in, everybody.
Does anybody believe this man?
I'm truthful.
I'm truthful, but I did just load a bunch of primer in the brush, so I have to prime something.
That's what I was asking.
I have to prime something because I thought I still had more spear dudes. Turns out I don't have any more spear dudes.
What about your robos?
I'll paint some robots.
Yeah. Avian says, robots. Here's a question to put. Could you really center this one up too?
No.
For me.
Can you aim the camera better?
The camera's never moved.
Oh, when you guys painted when I was gone, it didn't move, huh?
No,
it sure feels like it did.
I moved it back.
You moved it back without me here?
Actually, no.
So how does that work?
I did not move the camera when you were gone because I put a little X.
Does anybody here believe this man?
Jason, can you center up for me real quick?
No, I don't paint here.
That's perfect.
I paint here.
Could you paint up there?
Nope.
For the people.
I can't. I'm airbrushing. It'll get all over the painted models.
I tried, chat. No, you can see it right there. There you go. Avian says, okay, here's a question to put in the back, in the bank for airbrushing. What do you do to learn trigger control?
Practice. I talk about the area that I call paint no paint, right? It's right where the needle engages, and that's where I spend most of my time painting, right? So it's not, a lot of people when they first get an airbrush will think they have to pull the trigger back super far and they get a lot of paint that way. It's really, I think, because that's easy to do. You don't have to train yourself to pull the trigger back all the way, right? You just pull the trigger back all the way until it stops. The hard part is maintaining pressure, so pressing on air, right, and not getting any color, and then moving to that point where I get air, and then I pull back until I get color, and being able to hold it there and maneuver it back and forth so I can pull it just gently if I need a little bit more paint, release it if I need a little bit less, and ride that very fine line. That's where all of your trigger control is going to be learned. That's what's going to help you paint much better and have that control with the airbrush. And you'll find that you spend 90% of your time painting right there. You don't need more paint than that. More paint than that floods the surface. We paint with lower viscosity paints, and having too much paint hit the model at any given time causes nothing but problems. Typically, you don't want to try to cover the model entirely with one coat anyway, so you'll see I'm kind of feathering black on and then coming back and filling in the gaps. When priming, that's the only way to do it. If you just flood the model with paint, it won't cure correctly, it won't adhere correctly, it'll scratch off. Because the airbrush is by nature putting on a very fine layer of paint anyway, lots of little dots. And so you can overload it, but you're not going to be happy with it. So thin coats, not pulling the trigger all the way back. If you find yourself having to pull the trigger back to get any paint at all, you need to clean the airbrush. You've got a clog someplace. Boy, these guys have got stupid little cracks and crevices, man.
They're cool models, though.
They're neat, but, I mean, wow. This is one of those where you start putting the color on and you're like, oh, look, there's still raw resin showing in the armpits.
Savvy says, what's the rubber-looking case you have on your airbrush?
That's the custom thing that we did with Grex that has our Monument logo on it, on the button cover and the black grip, just a little bit of an ergonomic grip. We did the same in aluminum on the TG series. We no longer do that with them. We don't produce the brushes anymore. It was not sustainable. The prices were getting too high, and they let their people discount their prices as low as they want. So it was not very conducive to us continuing to sell them. But it's a good brush.
John says, are those Sangar or Dawnbreakers?
The Dawnbreaker cohort is the one that I'm going to be painting today. These are Thalax cohort. I have a Forge Lord in my Blood Angels army, and so he lets you bring Thalax. Thalax are the only jump pack infantry in the game that have heavy weapons that I can use as a Space Marine.
Source says,
Space Marines don't have any.
Love the brush-on primer, by the way.
It's great,
man,
right?
Some models have to prime with a brush. I do love our airbrush, not our airbrush primer. Our brush-on primer is awesome. I use that to rebase some stuff to get the base
it's great
back.
just to use as a touch-up.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times when I'm handling the models while we paint, I'll rub the primer because I don't paint the base, but I prime the base in some cases. And so this base rim, as I'm put my thumb on it, will eventually have paint wipe off of it. And then rather than having to bust the airbrush out and cover the model up, I can just use the brush-on primer to touch it up.
Jason, what's your number one tip to avoid clogs in your airbrush?
Avoid clogging the airbrush?
Yeah.
Do not load the pot with tons of paint and then spray until the paint's gone and then load the pot with more paint. Load the pot no greater than a quarter of the way full. Spray that through. Rinse with water. You don't have to clean, but rinse with water. And then put more paint in. And then repeat. Fill the airbrush more frequently is really what that means. And don't rely on just, painting, like I'm doing right now. If you're priming an entire army and you never stop to rinse the brush, it will clog on you.
So it's just about frequency?
A lot of times, yeah. I mean, once you get used to what paint you're running through, that's kind of a how long is a piece of string question, because depending on if you're running your paints really thick, you could wind up getting clogging. The clogging can come from things like tip dry, if you're spraying for too long, if you're spraying without putting enough paint out of the nozzle, so you're not pulling the trigger back far enough, you're getting more air than paint out of the nozzle, that will cause tip dry. That tip dry can then cause the airbrush to seem like it's clogged. You have to clean the tip. It can cause all sorts of, I don't know what you call it, backflow through the tip into the nozzle guard. It can put paint where it's not supposed to be. So it's a very simple machine. So it's simple to maintain, but there are kind of a handful, or more than a handful, quite a few, of things that can cause it to be tough to operate. The biggest thing that causes me problems is I typically will feather the paint, and like I'm doing now, and I'm not spraying a ton of paint.
Right.
And by not spraying a ton of paint, I'm getting that tip dry buildup. So I will stop every now and then, wipe the tip of the needle off, and then keep going, and that works great.
The mo you know.
We know them all.
Flapjack says, I have a question. How long is a piece of string?
Exactly. That long.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing your tips. We appreciate that. And by we, I mean the world. Right?
I worry about
Everybody?
you sometimes,
Chat?
my friend.
Oh, there's two of me in this room.
I worry about you sometimes.
You don't need to worry about me.
I do anyway.
Not yet.
Oh, well.
Oh.
Oh, well.
Speaking of
Well.
being worried about Chris,
Welcome, everybody.
we're so glad you showed up today. It's actually a little bit, I know you don't really like sometimes airbrush priming on stream, but it is a little therapeutic.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a very important part of what we do.
It is. Like those tips, like that whole thing.
Like right now, zoom in close to the airbrush.
Yeah.
Let's get the needle in there if you can focus on that.
Uh-huh.
Right, can you zoom in even closer? Give me a super tight. You can see that the entire needle tip is coated with black paint. That's because I'm feathering and more air is coming out than paint. So the paint lingers on the needle because the amount of air, I'm barely letting paint through. So I don't pull the needle back far enough for it to drag a lot of paint along it. So the paint that is there tends to dry out along the tip. And so I just take the paper towel, right, and very easily or gently get my fingernails and rotate it around on the needle like that, and then pull it out, and that cleans the needle real quick. Right? So I have to stop and do that every now and then just because of the way that I paint, especially when priming. Like I said, I don't want to overload the model with paint. Well, and now it's done exactly what I didn't want it to do.
But yeah, that simple tip of not overflowing your airbrush and adding more changed my whole game, chat.
This piece, if you zoom in really tight on this piece, it will cause you more problems than people give it credit for. Look at it right now. You should be able to see light through that hole. There isn't any because it's got paint loaded up in it. This should not have paint in it right? And from the back side, there's not any that you can really see in there. Can you focus that up? Yeah. Not any that you can really see in there, but you can see how it's clogging the hole. So we need to every now and then stop and clean that out. And that's just spray from the back side and get the water out of there. And then making sure that that is open, because the paint will kind of turbulence, if you will, at the needle will cause the paint to get on the front surface here. And if it does, you have to make sure you clean it off, and not just to where the shiny part is clean, but you also have to get in there and make sure that the hole is open all the way. I keep an old needle around for this. So just an old 0.3 that either got bent or we had an extra of. I keep that here, and then I just use it to
kind of clean it out.
Just kind of wallow the hole. It's clean and stainless and smooth, so it's not going to scratch anything. But I can kind of use it to just make sure that there isn't any paint on the inside of the circle opening. Because if that opening gets out of round anyway, that pop in close again.
Yeah.
You can already see. You can already see how much difference. See, we can see the paper towel through it now. We couldn't before. Through the hole. And that'll cause a problem, because if there's a lot of paint buildup in this aperture, then as the needle pulls back, you don't have airflow all the way around the needle. It can cause spattering. So this is another frequent problem point on airbrushes. And this is just the nozzle cover.
There you go.
Boom.
Nice.
And now I should get spray again. Look at that.
Cool. Perfect.
And then I always tell people, you know, we always tell people just feather the color on there. You're not trying to turn the model black or whatever primer color you're using with the first go around. You're just trying to get enough of a bite, we call it, on the model, so that the paint covers every area but isn't opaque. You're just trying to give what we call a little bit of tooth on there. This will dry quicker and become your first layer. And your first layer adhering to the model is the most important one. It gives you the stability for adhesion for every other layer of color. And so we want to make sure that first one goes on and gets a chance to dry real quick, because it is so thin, it won't take very long to get cured. Boom. And so that's what a first pass, popping close on that.
Yeah.
That's what a first pass looks like. It's grimy. You can still see a lot of the gray of the resin coming through, right? But that's a really good first pass. And by the time you're done there, most of that has already started to give good adhesion on the model and started to cure. Then you come back and with another light coat start to fill it in. Again, notice how the surface never gets really wet. It's never super shiny.
Yeah.
So you're not pooling paint up there. If your prime coat gets really wet looking, you've sprayed too much on, and you run the risk of the under layer, the first paint that touched the model, not curing before the last paint that touched the model. Because the part of the paint that cures first is what? Anybody know? What paint cures first? No matter how you paint or what you're painting.
The stuff underneath.
No. Incorrect. What paint cures first? The stuff in contact with air.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Okay?
Yeah.
So the first layer is touching air, but if you cover that layer up with a big thick layer of paint over the top, what's not touching air anymore?
Yeah.
The first layer of paint.
Right.
The top layer of paint that's thicker is touching the air.
I see what you're saying.
And that top layer starts to cure before the underneath layer is cured, and that underneath layer starts to do what's called off-gassing. It's trying hard to cure, but the air has nowhere to go. The evaporative air has nowhere to go. So it forces its way up through the other paint, causes it to crack, causes it to not have good adhesion, and then it rubs off. You know, so people will say, oh, your primer rubs off. And I'm like, you put it on too thick. And that is a user error thing, right? Yeah. Priming, you don't prime cars or anything in the world that you're priming for painting by putting on one big dousing coat. That's just not how it works.
Yeah.
You put on a light coat, let that coat give some tooth and cure, then put another coat over that, let that cure, put another coat over that, let that cure. Now you have superior adhesion. Now that paint gives you everything you need to put your colors on top of it. So that's why you'll see me take a little bit longer to do 2 or 3 coats of paint across every model that I prime, so that number one, I know that I'm confident that I can start painting on these this stream. I don't have to let them sit for 24 hours. We say on our primer you should let it sit for 24 hours. That's just to make sure that no matter what climate you're in, you're pretty safe. Here, where it's ultra dry in Arizona, we can get away with painting on it very quickly, so long as we do it this way. We let each coat have an opportunity to adhere to the base. I probably don't want to do a real heavy dry brush over this right away. Anything that puts a lot of force on it will still be able to move the paint. So maybe if I was going to do a heavy dry brush, I'd probably let it sit here for an hour or two. Good God, the undercuts on these models are crazy. No wonder they hated making these out of resin.
For your varnishes, would you recommend thinning them before putting them through the airbrush? If so, with water?
Nope.
Wouldn't you want that for like a certain effect?
For varnish?
Yeah.
I mean, the varnishes are made to just spray. If you take the matte varnish and you thin it down, it's going to be less matte.
That's what I meant. Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. So with the gloss varnish, you can thin it. It will lose a little bit of gloss, but it'll still be glossy.
Yeah.
With the matte varnish, don't thin it. If you can avoid thinning it, same with the primers. Don't ever thin primers. If you thin primers, they're no longer primers, really, technically, right? Because you're starting to thin the polyurethane. That's the part that gives it its grip and the whole purpose of it. And that's not what you're trying to do. If you thin them, they're really just a colored paint. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you feel like the primer isn't flowing through your airbrush, clean your airbrush better.
Yeah.
100%. I can't be more realistic than that. A lot of people are like, but it doesn't spray and it clogs and sputters. It's like you haven't cleaned your airbrush. I clean it every day. I guarantee if I were to take the nozzle of your airbrush, I would get gunk out of it. Guaranteed. All right, we're going to clean that.
Afacne says, is there any way to get airbrush-like effects without using one?
That's
kind of tough, isn't it? Because
you're never going to do it exactly and that's strictly because of the way the airbrush atomizes paint. It paints in lots, like thousands of tiny dots of paint that are all close together in a cone. So first off, it applies the paint in a circle, right? Now, that's not always a circle when you hit it because the model has all these surfaces that it hits, but it applies it in a circle because it makes a cone, and thousands, maybe millions of dots, depending on how thin you have it. So it gives a very soft look. Can you achieve a soft look? I guess you could say that like smudge brushing, like stippling could do it. Again, we'll pull out this tank, pop in really close on the front of this tank. You know, something like that. Now, it looks more like a sputtering airbrush, but this is smudge brushing with a dry brush. One of our round dry brushes can give you this effect. And if you were doing it less intense, I was doing this so it looked a little beat up on the side of a tank. But if you were to do that less intense, you can get a softer look to it, right? That can look sort of like it, but it's gonna have more contrast because you just can't get that smooth application without an airbrush, right? That's why a lot of times you'll see me and other artists that will use an airbrush to blend colors towards the end of your painting. If you've brush painted your colors on and then you want to blend them together a little bit, using an airbrush with a very thin color can help do that because it applies that thin color so softly on the model that it can obscure your brush strokes and help blend it out. So it lets you paint quick for your undercoat, and then you use it to spot blend like the shoulders and forehead of a model and all of that. And it can make it look like it's a lot smoother blends. But if you do too much airbrushing, it looks out of focus. So it's always that keeping it, together spot. Like on these models that we're painting here for all of our Blood Angels, right? We've airbrushed all of the armor. And if you pop in super close on this, you wouldn't be able to tell that any of this was done with airbrush because we paint so much over the top. One of the coats that I put over the top is a filter coat with the airbrush that helps even get rid of the softness of the airbrush itself. So it looks more like brush paint, less like airbrush across the model. Right. And then things like your edge highlight will take the softness off and give you a harder surface and edge on the model. So, there's lots of tricks. You don't ever want to just paint with the airbrush, I don't think, unless you're doing like a canvas or some other type of painting entirely. Then you might want to.
Zero Hero says, this is a good question. Sorry, let me
clean the airbrush while you're asking.
Yeah. I've had some issues with your paints not really adhering on the first coat, like it beads up over various brands of primer. Really not sure what's going on with that.
The primers are not matte, and they are waxing up. It's probably rattle can primers you're using, and they're probably not very fresh. And I know that sucks to hear, and we would love to be able to offer you a solution. Our paint with the formulation of it does not like a waxy style surface, and a lot of the propellants and things that are used, the solvents that are used in spray paints, don't like to have, or our paints don't like having that smooth surface because it's more satin. Like if your paint looks as matte as this, right? With zero shine to it once it's on the model, our paints work great because they want a matte finish to apply to. If it's any glossy, then they may have some problems. You overcome it by just doing another coat. When you apply that first coat, it might beat up a little bit. Just keep going. Just put a thin coat on there, let that dry, and then you can go right back after it with a regular coat for coverage. That's why we don't really recommend. It's why we made our own spray paints, because a lot of the spray primers in the hobby aren't really made for paints to go over the top. The way that the other paints break that is that they're just thicker, and we didn't want to make a thick paint. So it's one of those give and takes with Pro-Acryl.
Chappie, you kind of have 3 scattered questions here. I'm going to kind of put them together. So yes, Chappie says, I'm assuming you're spraying on lower PSI if you were close to the model spraying it, right?
No, I mean, I'm at 22. I don't consider 22 low.
And wait, can you shoot black primer from, let's say, Vallejo directly through the airbrush?
I don't know. They use a heavy poly or whatever heavier paint. I don't know. Chappie, I can't speak to other manufacturers. I always had problems with airbrush primers, which is why ours is like it is.
Yeah.
The reason why we make all of our paint like it is because my 45 plus years of painting showed me every problem imaginable with paint, and so I made the paint that doesn't have those problems. And that's why our primer is thinner feeling, more lightweight, but still has really good grab, very, very matte, sprays without thinning it. I had to use the thin primers all the time, and then that causes a problem, but they wouldn't spray through the airbrush any other way.
Sarcastic Grandpa's asking, what's your process of cleaning the airbrush nozzle to ensure it is clean?
I'll show you real quick. I think that we've had a lot of airbrush questions, so I'm more than happy to take some time to show you stuff. I just did before the show, right? Because when I'm going to prime this many models, I like to start with a fresh clean, because otherwise halfway through it starts to sputter and give you problems. Primer is one of those times where you can run into a lot of problems, because the primer, no matter what, even our primer, is prone to dry quicker, right? It's polyurethane rather than the standard paint, so it has a little bit quicker curing time. It has better tooth, meaning that it has better grab, meaning that once it dries, it sticks better. And so that's not so great on the inside of the airbrush. So all primers will give you the ability to do that. So again, like I said, don't put as much in the cup. Refill it, rinse it with water as you paint, and that way you can paint for hours and prime your entire army and never get a clog. You saw how I keep the tip clean and wipe it off so that you avoid the tip dry that can cause so many problems, stuff like that. I tried so hard to not paint my fingers, and I still paint my fingers. I'm horrible at this.
You could wear a glove.
Can't. They don't make a glove with my name on it, so no, not doing it.
You could.
Not doing it. I can't stand nitrile gloves. When I was tattooing, that was the biggest problem, man, is that I would sit there and I'd be tattooing for hours.
Oh, you probably got over
those damn sweaty, sticky gloves, and then you take them off and your hands all freaking like, what do you call it? Like living into the bathroom, the bathtub too long?
Yeah, pruny.
I just hate that. I don't know what it is, but I hate that feeling. I'm not prone to weird tactile issues with my hands. Like I could put my hand in mud and not care, and work in grease and dirty cars and motorcycles and not care. Heat, cold, I don't really care. Bust my knuckles, sucks, but don't care. But for some reason, hands in gloves that are made out of that nitrile stuff, I can't stand it because they sweat.
I use it for rattle can priming, though.
No, I get it.
Gotta really get in there.
I get it.
But I get what you're saying.
I just like it. I'd rather wash my hands.
After a while, it definitely gets sweaty.
So first of all, I run a lot of water through until I'm getting, either just kind of grayish water or zero paint at all. And you should have, occasionally you'll get right at the end of the water out of the cup, you'll start to get a little bit of the color again. That's just it pulling it through the nozzle, all the remaining bit of stuffs. And we'll take the needle out. Right? Always make sure that you give the needle some love. I take my wet napkin that I've been using to clean, and I just do this so that you don't wind up with any of the banding of paint. You can wind up with bands of paint up by, can you zoom in? Mm-hmm. You can wind up with bands of paint up here where it goes through the collar towards the nozzle, and then right behind where the trigger is, you can get a band of paint, because paint can build up against the seal that protects the valve and the back end of the brush. There's a seal right around here. that protects the backside of the airbrush, right? And so up against that seal, paint can lock in, and it can wind up drying really quick and giving you a ring of paint here that causes a problem when you go to pull the trigger. It makes the trigger not pull the needle because that paint is made the needle thicker right there, and it won't pull through that seal anymore. So if you've ever had a problem where you press the trigger, pull back on it to pull the needle, the trigger pulls back but the needle doesn't move. That's why you'll notice that the clasp is sliding on the needle in the back because the needle's stuck against that seal because it has a little bit of paint here. So always come in and make sure you clean it. And always also make sure that it's smooth. You shouldn't be doing anything that creates a burr on here, but if you've dropped it or pulled it out and banged it on something, you could get a little burr and you might have to take a little piece of sandpaper and sand it off. You want to make sure that there's no bumps on this as you're being able to take your fingers along it. And then also make sure that your tip isn't bent and that there's no visible burring up here or big paint dried clogs or anything up on the needle. You have to be very careful up here because obviously you can bend the tip very easily. All right, with the Grex, the way that the nozzle works is that it has a small chrome over brass nozzle that you have to unscrew. And so it has a tool with a hex head on it. You just put that on there and then loosen it. Take it off. Right. You can see it has dirty paint water on the threads. That can cause a problem, so it's always good to take the nozzle off. Even if you don't plan on cleaning the nozzle thoroughly, take the nozzle off and just kind of dry off that dirty paint because it has that paint waters like that. So it can lock in the threads, or that could build up right at the base of the threads through the mouth of the airbrush. Right. We'll set that aside. One of the things that I always do is I take my pipe cleaning kit, and I take the next to the biggest one here, get it wet in my paint cup, and then I put it in from the front once I've taken the nozzle off, okay? And this will clean the body of the airbrush as it goes from the cup to the front of the airbrush. So I just put it in until it stops and then pull it back. You use the biggest one that will fit in there and go in without a lot of pushing pressure, right? And then pull it out. You can rotate the airbrush body around on it if you feel like you're cleaning out bigger clogs. But of course, that's where the bulk of the paint sits around the needle, is in this big housing here. And if you've been spraying for a long time, there can be dried paint in there that winds up flaking off, right? Even when you put new paint in there, that new paint may re-wet it and pull it down in there, and then that chunk of paint goes into the nozzle when you paint, and it clogs. So making sure that the body of the airbrush is always as clean as possible, just with you. It's very easy. You're not really doing a whole lot. The other thing is, then I'll go down a size and get that wet, right? And if we can see it, like in there, you can see the channel of the airbrush. I put it in from the front, right? You can see it go through the area right under the cup there, right? And I will do that and then force it into the area where the needle goes back into the body behind the cup where that seal is. And just make sure there's no paint there. So you can see it kind of as I'm pushing it through there. And it should go. This one's a little bent. Get bent, Chris. There we go. So now it goes back. And so now this cleaning tool is actually in this part of the body back here. You don't want to push it too hard because you don't want to deform that seal. So push it back until it stops. And then just kind of move it back and forth like this. That'll clean the area right behind the cup where, again, paint can build up against the seal. That paint can flake off too. So now you've cleaned the entire body of it. Rinse it out with water without putting anything back in it.
Don't you... Perceptron says if you push it that far, do you risk the paint... do you risk to push paint into the body of the airbrush? You
could rinse it between it. I've already cleaned this one, so you can rinse it between like I'm about to do now. You could clean just the front part and then just rinse it out. You don't put the nozzle back on. You just let it free flow paint out, and any dried paint that might have been in there comes out. I did all this before stream, so yeah, it's going to be clean. And then I just rinse out the whole body this way.
Factory, yes, an airbrush is a great investment.
Fantastic.
If you're really in this hobby,
one of the best tools for a hobbyist.
Awesome. There's a lot of good brands out there that will suffice. So
Iwata. I'm not as big a fan of the Neos. They don't last, but they're great while they work. It's a great low-end, low-cost airbrush that is made by Sparmax. Sparmax is the I don't know if that's the actual factory name, but it's a company that runs one of the biggest airbrush factories. They're owned by Iwata. They make a lot of the Iwata brushes. They make a lot of the brushes for a lot of the people in the world. Even the people that say they make their own are made in that factory. there are very different tolerances in how they do the machining of the metal and how they coat the metal and how they clean the metal during the processing. And so what happens is that a cheaper airbrush or a lower cost airbrush is just not machined as well, not cleaned up, doesn't go through as many processes to polish. The more you polish and have to polish the inside of the airbrush and get all that stuff done, the more expensive and time consuming it is to manufacture, the more expensive it is to the consumer. To make them lower cost, they don't do those processes, or they do them quicker on more automated machines that don't catch all of the inconsistencies. So that's where it is. So the Neo, I found, we used them on stream for a long time. I just found that it didn't last me very long. If I got a year out of it, it was doing pretty good. And it was the valve and the valve seat that would go bad, and the place where the trigger pulled back, that whole slide would grind in the inside just because the tolerances weren't good. So I still think that for price, they work really well. I would much rather see people buying those than like the Masters series brush stuff. But you can get a Masters airbrush for what, $99 with a compressor?
I think so.
It's hard to beat, man. So I'm not the purist. I'm not going to tell you spend the most money, buy Harder and Steenbeck. I love them, but if you buy to your ability with your wallet, I think, and your initial impression of how much you want to paint. If you know you're going to go hog wild into airbrushing, then spend to the upper limit that you're capable of and get a better brush to start with. If you're not sure that you'll use it for anything other than priming and base coating, then spend at the lower end of the level until you're comfortable with how it works. And what I find is that most people that spend at the lower level have a brush that they can use for priming for years. Even that Neo will work for priming for years. It's just the detail work will be harder because as you pull the trigger, it'll start to have little grab spots in it. It makes it not as delicate to pull. That's what happens with the lower end airbrushes, but they still work great for priming because you just push the trigger and go and you just cover the model. So you'll always have an airbrush you can use for priming and base coating. You just won't be able to do as much detail work over time with it. So, and that's a great way to get a device you'll use, learn about it, build confidence with it, and then say, okay, this works great, I want to do more. And then invest as you can in a better brush. Okay, on the needle or the nozzle, can you pop in close on this?
Yeah.
On the nozzle itself, same thing. I just grabbed the smallest version of the pipe cleaner and put it in here. Now, don't ever push this in hard. You just push it in to where it gives you resistance because it's in, how far? If I put my finger there, it's in that far. If I put that there, it's just at this point right before it goes to the nozzle. Right?
Oh, okay.
I'm able to put it in that far. So if what I did, I'm sorry, I was off camera. I slide it in like that until I get pressure, mark where I've slid it into, pull it out. I went in that far and then put it here, and you'll see about how far you're able to push it right before the cone of the actual nozzle. Right, so this will get the body of the nozzle clean, which, believe it or not, is where all the paint builds up.
This is the little nozzle piece after you unscrewed it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Some airbrushes this will just pull out because it's just pressure fit. A lot of them it will screw in like this one. Whichever it is, you just pull it out and then you just use this. And I just kind of work it back and forth. I will angle it a little bit. You don't push it in straight. Mm-hmm. I will tilt it up a bit so that it's dragging against the side. And let it clean, and then I'll pull it down a bit so it drags against the side, then over to towards us, and then away from us, so that it's hitting all four sides and being able to get paint off of there, okay? Once I've done that, I don't rinse it. I take my bum needle, make sure I keep these separate. That's my good one. This is my not good one. I don't know. This one's probably good. I don't know where it came from. But I use it for this now, right? So I take the needle and then I will place the needle. I say use one that you've bent or that you've replaced, right? And use the needle. And what I do is I lightly rub it around the inside of here. You don't want to scratch the chrome or the polish on this. You just want to rub it lightly to loosen anything that the pipe cleaner might have loosened. And then I'll work it up to the front. And then I start doing this. I start just kind of working the needle. Oh, look, see, perfect timing. Look at that little gunner coming out of there. See how that little... See that thing that just came out?
Yeah.
That was dried paint that was inside the nozzle. People tell me I cleaned my brush, and I bet I can go in there and get that kind of little thing. That little chunk of paint right there will mess up your painting more than anything. That little chunk. It's just this microscopic little piece of junk. It will cause your airbrush to not work properly at all, right? So I just keep doing this. I'm just lightly pressing the needle against the side of the cone here and then out, right? And it's pretty clean other than that. That was the only really big chunk. Right? There you go. So nothing else is coming out. Like that. Then I'll take this over into my water dish. And we use these water cleaners, pop out real quick. I just use these, was it eye sprayer bottle?
Yeah.
And then I just put it in the hole at the end, or what's even easier is you put it around the nozzle, right, at the end, because then you can shove the nozzle up into the eye cleaner portion, and then you just squirt out, and it'll force water out the back end of the needle or the nozzle itself. Right.
That right there, that little squeeze bottle, I would say is an amazing way to clean your airbrush if you don't have one.
They're like $2.
Yeah.
best investment if you have an airbrush ever.
I got that from my dad, and he was like,
I think it's one of the best investments just for painting, because if you're mixing water into something, you just give it a little squeeze and get a little bit of water. It's not as fine resolution when I say and add a little bit of water. I'm always adding too much. It gives just a little bit too much. But I'm a little heavy-handed with it too.
Scoshy.
All right, there you go. That's how you do it. And then you just screw the nozzle back on. We've already rinsed the body of the brush.
And a lot of airbrushes are relatively similar in the construction, right?
They're all going to be some version of this. Like I said, some of them, the nozzle presses in, like on the Badger, and I think some of the harder in Steenbeck, so the nozzle may not screw in. It may seat, and then you take this part, and when you screw it on, it press fits it in there. With these, you have to be careful, because you're going to have this wrench, and if you're heavy-handed like me, the instant you get it, you just want to horse it tight. Don't do that. Just kind of barely inch it until it gives a little bit of pressure back, and then let go. Don't put a lot of pressure on it. If you start to where your air, you can see bubbling happening through these threads, then take it off and give it another little nick. But don't ever go, because you will turn the threads off of it. This thing is tiny and delicate. Right, then we put the nozzle cover back on. Then we take what I hope is the good needle. I mixed them up over here. This is really bad. Well, we'll just know. I think both of them are actually pretty good.
They look good on camera.
That's the good. They're both number 3, so it doesn't really matter. Right? And then I just guide it in with my finger, right in the back end. It comes out the front the way it should. Do-do-do-do-do-do. And tighten it down. Work the trigger. Make sure that's working right. Feels good.
Cool.
And then we're ready to spray. I might put a little bit of water in it because we've had our hands all over everything the whole time. Put a little bit of water in it and then just run.
Give it a test.
Yeah, just run water through it just to make sure that we're getting any of the, if we got dust or hand grit.
A lot of good questions. If I missed a question, definitely tag at Monument Hobbies. I was also intently looking back and forth. Lumberjack, you had asked a little bit earlier, why did you end up switching over to the top grip? He said that you used a pistol trigger.
Honestly, 100%, because most people don't use a pistol grip, and on stream people were asking way more questions about the pistol grip than the pistol grip.
That's a good point.
The top trigger rather than the pistol grip.
Because most of them are built that way.
Yeah. But I'm a big firm believer in the pistol grip, especially if you have issues with your hands shaking, things like that. Then the pistol grip is fantastic. It can help that fatigue. It's much more ergonomic for spraying over long periods of time. I've always argued it's a much more natural movement than doing this. Nothing in your life, nothing that you do in your life other than maybe scratching or picking your nose does this.
That's
right?
a good.
But everything you do does this, and the pistol grip does this. So it just is a better feel.
The switch,
but it's also very hard for people that have learned this and do have fine motor control and have got the confidence with it to then switch to this, because it is a totally different feel than this for when you're feeling how the machine is, where it's putting air out and where you're going to get paint. It's totally different feel here than it is here. But I use them both.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Awesome.
Swallowtail with a pistol grip helps with longer painting. It definitely does. It's so much better for ergonomics. Already just from cleaning and painting priming 12 models. We haven't even painted them yet. Priming 12 models, I already have that knuckle fatigue in this front knuckle on my finger, right? So, are there dual action pistol grips? Yeah, all of them are. Check it. Well, I don't know that all of them are, but the Grex one is, yeah. Dual action just means that you air before you get paint.
Cool.
And the Grex TG that we use is dual action. When you pull the trigger, you pull it back a quarter of a pull and you get just air, and then you get to that point where it starts adding paint into the air, and then when you release, you continue to have air. It's not just binary. It's not on with paint, off with paint. That causes spatter, really isn't good for hobbying. Right? You don't want to just turn paint on and then immediately turn paint off. You want to always have air that you inject paint into, and then take the paint out of the air and then turn the air off. That's dual action. You might be picking your nose incorrectly. Get cramps really bad in a normal dual action? Yeah, check that. Yeah, that, like I said, I feel it in my finger already, and I haven't really painted that much. So it definitely can be a problem. All right, my goal today was to get the base coats on these guys that somebody said the name of that I can never remember. Dawn Guard. Something or other. The Dawn Guard guys. These guys.
Yeah.
These are my custom Dawn Guard. I don't remember what they're called. But yes, these. I was thinking about doing black armor, but I don't know.
No, do not use Flow Improver with our airbrush primer. It works right out of the bottle. Archie. Oh, it's raining.
I was thinking about doing black armor.
Oh, you're going to do... So this is not red.
Well, I want to do something. I've been changing up from red and using some black. We have the normal bros.
Yeah.
Well, we have the normal bros that will just be kind of steel.
Honestly, a black armor workup at this scale would be kind of cool.
And then here, these guys had the black shoulder plates, but the red armor. I was thinking on these guys, maybe I did black chests and like codpiece, and then like red legs,
all black,
red arms, but just black chest, black helmet.
Oh,
maybe.
Is that too? Would that be too much additional work to try to separate it all out?
I don't.
I mean, it always sounds cool to me, but like,
I don't think so. I've been doing the black on everything, like the helmet of the Dread. I did black. The black shoulders here. I've just been doing with black and grays. Okay. So I haven't been putting any color into it. Yeah. And I kind of like that. I like that really dull black against the red because of all the non-metallic metal, It
would be cool to see some black armor.
So I'm thinking black armor on these guys, but I would do it with the airbrush. We'll try to do it with the airbrush and see how it works. That might be a little bit tough, but I think we can pull it off. I think we can pull it off, chat. We'll see.
I think a lot of people are excited for some black armor.
We still have to paint red, so we have to do it both. So this makes it a little bit more complicated, but I think it'll be really bitchin'.
So, because you'll airbrush certain sections, certain colors, right?
Yeah. Without masking. We don't mask here, chat. We man mode it.
Man mode.
Man mode engage.
What's the matter with you?
I got a thing in my throat.
What's the matter with you?
Where do I start, Christopher? Where do I start? Quartered, black, and red. I'm not doing quartered. That doesn't make sense. But I'll do black chest, and then red legs, arms, black shoulder plates, chest, and backpack, probably. Right? So that they have more. And then the helmet, maybe we do gold or white or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
It's lovely rain.
It is. It's raining. Not like torrential either, which is kind of cool. That it isn't like trying to kill us.
I don't like the rain. All right.
Payne's gray.
So why are you using Payne's gray to start with black?
Because I'm painting red. Have you been listening to me at all?
No, but I'm sorry.
See, no, he hasn't, chat. That's the whole problem. I thought you were
starting with the black.
Well, maybe. I have to paint the whole model, Chris.
I know, but are you doing...
I literally have to paint the whole thing. So we're going to paint the whole thing. So the red parts are primed with Payne's gray. Right? Yeah. So we're going to go through, or not primed, but the red parts are in Payne's gray. So this is just going to be a little bit more of a, I have to aim better, right, to get Payne's gray just where I need it, if I want it on all the parts that will be red.
I don't know if we're going to do black plaid spaznet.
No black plaid, that's not even a thing. Just making stuff up now.
CJ said, I heard a touch of bronze helps the primer flow.
I know where you people live. Do not bring that in my house.
I have too, CJ. I concur.
Do not bring that into this house.
Pink and black plaid would be hilariously awesome, says Wired. I don't think that's happening, Wired. Lumberjack said, Fuse getting our hopes up for Payne's Gray Primer. I would use the crud out of Payne's Gray Primer.
I think we all would. I think you got dark purple and you should be happy. That's what I think. That's what I think.
Or you make a Payne's Gray Primer for the people.
There's a world where this happens. It'll happen.
Maybe we just release a whole set of all of our colors, but in primer form. Because why not? Ooh, the things you could do.
Don't talk to Chris. He's a nuisance.
Me? I'm a good
nuisance.
guy.
Public nuisance.
That's a great idea.
Public nuisance.
Avian says, sorry that you feel that way. The only thing there is to say every copper lining's got a touch of bronze.
You guys, I'm not, I can't, I won't. Jeez, I thought we were friends.
Chat has no friends because they are the friends. We, on the other hand, we don't have friends. Panic Bomb, yes, I do. Chris, do you know how business works? I do, actually. I'm writing a book on it. So, Panic Bomb, you'll be the first to get a copy.
He's told that to 80 people so far, Panic Bomb. I just want you to know that.
That is correct. But you'll be the first. Oh, yeah. Tech Elf says, we could use a bronze wash for those times where a little is all you need.
You people would do horribly around bears.
What? What does that mean?
All of you people would be horrible around bears.
What, around bears?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Because they would continually poke the bear. And let me tell you what happens when you continually poke the bear.
Oh. Danger says, can you make a primer medium and we could add any colors we want? Ha ha ha.
You know, we've actually talked about that in the past. You just can't. It's not formulated the same.
A primer medium?
It just can't. It would just become paint if we added paint to it. So
here's your primer medium. Wait a minute. This is just...
It would be awesome.
What needle size do you typically prefer? Awesome. What do you prefer, Jason, needle size wise?
Hi, Bubs. I'm husband.
Are you talking to me right now?
That's Christopher.
With that attitude?
Hey, husband. What you doing?
I take great offense to this.
What you doing? I want to look at it.
I tried, Ryan. I tried to ask your question, and who knows?
I want to be a cool guy. I go look at a stick in a bag.
Chat, my cup runneth dry. So I'm going to ask this one more time.
Oh, God.
Ryan is asking, what size needle do you typically use in your airbrush?
A 0.3.
Typically?
Yeah. For most of what we do, you see me using a 0.3. I will use the 0.2 for fine detail. We may use the 0.2 here in a minute to do the black after we do the red, just because I'll be having to sneak the black into very small areas. I'm right now only using the Payne's Gray in the areas on the model that are going to be red and trying to avoid the black, so same kind of thing, but I'm able to do that with the 0.3. Can you go in closer?
Yeah.
So they can see what I'm doing, Christopher? Jeez.
You weren't centered up, so...
Oh, here we go. It's my fault now.
I just wanted the people to see.
I mean, if I had a producer that could name his camera right, then life would be good.
It's aimed right.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to get you a big sticker.
I don't paint here. I paint here.
No.
Always have.
No.
This piece of paper has moved 4 inches off the edge where it normally is. So if you're marking the middle of the paper, that's why it's off.
I'm going to show you one day. I'm going to put a big old sticker right there. Center bullseye.
Who's the one?
Who's the owl in this room?
Who's the one that gets their way? Me.
Stan has a great question.
It just ignores me.
Question about the paint, and feel free to refuse to answer. Payne's Gray seems to be one of the most popular colors. How come it wasn't a color with the first release of paints? Also, when it was included for Vince's set, did he request it? Or did you say you were making those colors? What ones were your favorite?
Believe it or not, with the Payne's Gray, it was already one that we had made. We'd had it for a long time. We had never released it because of dark blue. Dark blue was so close to the original formulation of Payne's Gray. We then darkened and altered the Payne's Gray formula because Payne's Gray is not a particular color. It's a blended hue, right? So we then went back and revisited the Payne's Gray when we worked with Vince and got it dialed in to where it made him happy, and it actually made me happy to be a separate color. There were a lot of people that asked for a Payne's Gray early on, and I was like, we have dark blue. And dark blue is a better color in every sense that you would use a Payne's Gray until we did this. And then we also did the Payne's Gray, which is even darker in the Expert Acrylics line. And that one is even better. That's my favorite guy in the Army, I think.
Jerpstick says, someone earlier was mentioning having trouble getting paint to stick on their model, and it was beating up applied to a Mini. I have a similar issue, and it happened using Monument Hobbies spray gray. Maybe I didn't shake the can enough, or maybe I had too much water in my brush.
Spray primer?
Yeah.
Which color is spray primer?
Gray.
Yeah, all of them are super matte. The reason that we
maybe you had too much water in your paint.
You don't want to thin our paints. That could be causing a problem over the top of a spray, but it shouldn't. It may be so thin that it starts to skate a little bit. You want to make sure your base coat is not thinned. In most cases, there are reasons why you would thin your base coat. If you wanted the gray to show through and you were just doing a light glaze over the gray, then you could do that. A lot of people have trouble with our paints from the standpoint of our paints are a very light paint right out of the bottle. It's meant to paint with and not have to thin. You don't see me thinning our paints directly hardly ever. And we do videos where I talk about just painting with the water on your brush, things like that. So yeah, it could very well be. We come from a world where a lot of people are used to other paints. Granted, I get it, 100%. But our paints are very different on purpose. So that they're not thick and you don't have to spend a lot of time on the palette and fiddling with them to get them right, and the paints are inconsistent. They do different things depending on what color you're using. I've always hated that, and so we've made it to where all of our paints work very similarly. Now, some pigments are less opaque than others, like yellows. So they may not cover as consistent as other colors because of that. But they work the same. You still don't thin them. You still don't have... And the only reason you thin is when you need opacity to be lowered. You want to glaze, so you need a very translucent paint, that kind of stuff. So just remember that and add that into your workflow when you start using Pro-Acryl, is that it's meant to let you paint. It is a paint for painters so that you paint.
A paint for painters.
I didn't get a whole lot on the black, so I'm pretty happy with that.
A paint for painters so that you paint.
So that you paint.
I like that.
Well, I've always said, why am I painting the palette more than I'm painting the model? You see, look at my palette. Put the palette up there. My palette doesn't. I only put paint on the palette, put my brush in the paint, and put it on the model. I don't have to do anything else.
Sark says, follow up to the Vince question. What does it normally take for a creator to get a signature series? Seratos has been using your paints a lot recently, and I'm crossing my fingers you collab with him.
Who has been?
Sarastro,
yeah, he does a lot of the AMG stuff with Marvel Crisis Protocol. So they all have, technically the AMG amp paints are the signature series for the AMG studio, which includes Sarastro,
he's great.
Dallas, all the guys that do the painting for the MCP and Star Wars stuff.
Tommy Front Seat, thank you for that raid.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome in, Raiders.
Yeah, I do not have plans for further signature paints at this time. We had a meeting this morning in our product dev meeting, and everybody was like, why don't you do a Jason signature series? And I always say, the whole line is my signature series. But, you know, there's been jokes that people would be like, do a Jason. I'm like, nobody.
I'll do one.
Nobody can. We need a Chris signature series.
And they're all going to have silly names by hot demand. First being Touch of Bronze.
That isn't anywhere near bronze. It's like a purple.
Second, Olive Flesh 2.0. It's the same thing.
It's literally the same thing.
And then a second bottle of Olive Flesh. And it's going to say a second bottle of Olive Flesh. That's what it's going to say. It's going to say a second bottle of Olive Flesh. And then I'm going to say,
oh, that's awesome.
Payne's Gray, take that, Vince. Because I want Payne's Gray in... That's my signature series. And then green, because I love green.
Just green. And it's going to just say, because I love green.
Yes. And then dark, what's my other one? And then I would like to do...
I love it.
What is it? I had another one. Base rim black.
That's just
and it's going to be a mixture.
Black?
No, it's going to be a mixture of satin black and our expert acrylic line. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it. And it's going to be the blackest black you've ever seen.
No.
And then,
because they make that, and it's not paint worthy.
No. This one, though, we're going to do it our way. And it's going to be, you've never seen this before.
I did it my
And then, what is it?
way.
I got one more paint. And then I'm going to do...
Wait for Chris to ask me what color I'm about to use.
I use dark plum.
Sometimes it works.
Oh,
Jeff.
I'm always watching.
Sometimes his brain is on.
And then, no, not feta chili. What color is feta chili?
Hear me out.
Feta chili is like light reddish yellow
Hear me
white.
out, chat. Slick Willie's feta chili.
No.
Breakfast sushi. Right? And cheese cake
but
steak.
Can we move on from Touch of Bronze? I'm trying to move on from Slick Willie's, bud. I'm always trying to move on. That's my job. Killer of fun. Yeah, so those are my signature series. And then you know what I would really like is a clear paint. You know?
Just like, clear?
Just clear. And then because the clear paint is going to be whatever you imagine it to be, it's all imagination based. So it's just going to be like a medium, right? It's just going to be a small bottle of our glaze and wash medium. It's going to call Imagination.
It's just going to call, yeah, I was going to say, it's just going to be called Dream.
We're going to call it Dream. Yeah. There's my
I have a dream.
Series. A Touch of Bronze, Olive Flesh 2.0, a second bottle of Olive Flesh, base rim black,
and Dream.
And green, because green's cool. There you go. No, I have my signature series. It's going to be called Ghostly Glow. Ooh. It's going to have that on there too. You hear it.
How do you write that?
Ooh. It's like capital O, small o, capital O, small, capital, you know.
Okay. Ooh. Right, you thought this through.
And then Ghostly Glow, which is bright yellow green. It's 2 parts bright yellow green, a couple drops of dark turquoise, and bright pale green. Just a little bit. There it is. Oh, danger, you're right. I take it back. Travel size noosh. Yes. There you go.
I was going to say, he missed that entirely. Like, if there is a Chris signature thing, it's way too much noosh.
We got noosh in there.
And it's going to be called Even More Noosh.
It's the small bottle to complement your big bottle. There you go. There's my signature series. Make it happen. And by make it happen, I'm just saying that out in the world. I have no authority here. It's probably best that I'm not in those product development meetings, chat. Let's face it, because they're all talking there, and I'm like, business, product, and then I come in, and I'm like, listen.
Hear me out, chat.
Olive Flesh 2.0. Same Olive Flesh you know and love, just the second version.
Hear me out, chat.
Gallon of noosh, yeah, that's my signature series. I'm just gonna give you a gallon of it. It's funny. Your set is called Speaking of Pro Acryl. Game delay, that's freaking awesome. Speaking of Pro Acryl, there you go.
That's pretty funny, actually.
I'll spend my hard-earned money on our own commercial production if we do this. Like, big time. Like, we're going big.
We don't pay
fireworks.
Him, so there's a problem in this logic.
Fireworks, whatever you want.
Fireworks is big production?
Whatever you want, man. You name it. Elephants on big rubber balls and all that kind of stuff. Real question from Wired. Not from Wired. Who said that? Danger. When a color is faded or bright, how do you all get to that stage? Those are my favorite colors.
They're just desaturated colors. Some, you mean how I make them, is some are just an additive of white at various stages. That usually will get us there. Sometimes a pale yellow or something like that. Just a paler pigment, but it's just a desaturated version of its parent hue. Meant to be, they tend to give a more almost military feel. The brights, on the other hand, can also be that, but the brights generally have like a yellow to them.
Yeah.
Can also have white, but are still largely based on the center hue that was the color to start with, so that the white doesn't bubblegum them out, make them too pastel.
Gabe Delay says, every time I make a joke and someone says, that's funny, actually, I die a little inside. It's really funny, Gabe Delay.
Gabe Delay, you're not trying to be funny? You're doing this for what?
Doing it for the gram. Turtle says, I have a question about your varnishes. Are they UV protective?
Yep. Yeah, all of our paints are very light fast, so the UV... protective is always a hard word, because if you're going to put our varnish on something and set it out in the sun, it may yellow over time. But yeah, they are very light fast. All of our paints hold their color without a varnish for long periods of time.
I'm going to have to put that... I'm going to let you guys vote on what my signature series is going to be called. I'll have to put that in my next survey.
Chat's going to get to name it?
Heck yeah, I'm going to give them 4 options.
Oh,
they'll
so
vote.
They don't get to name it.
No, I'm definitely using game delays. Speaking of Pro Acryl. And then Sarcastic Grandpa says, love named. That workup. No, love that workup. That's a good one, too.
Oh, you're letting him pick from these.
We're going to pick from these.
Okay.
And then Get Bent, Chris.
I like Get Bent, Chris. I vote for that.
I don't know if I'm going to put that on my survey.
What?
You heard me.
Wow, you're very selective.
The ship.
The ship.
And, all right.
They know you too well. People have been here, I think.
Christmas Sushi's Fun, Win, Paint Signature Series is the 4th option.
That actually sounds pretty good, too. These people know you, Chris.
No, I just made that one up.
Oh.
Noosh in a Dream. There you go. We'll make that one right in. We'll make it right in. We'll just pick our favorite. No, this is not happening, chat, unfortunately. I can't. I'm sorry. Every signature set I sell, I have to pay Monument $5.
I like this.
That's just how it's going to work.
Chris is getting a signature set. That's how the new signature series is going to work, actually.
We pay you?
Yeah.
We pay you.
Yeah, you got to pay me.
Chris, you're fired. There you go.
I'm starting to like this idea.
CJ, you're banned. I'm not even going to read that out loud.
Dark plum is such a good color.
Chris is mad.
I should have painted word bearers.
You mean 1,000 sons?
No.
1,000 boys.
Word bearers, not 1,000.
1,000 words? 1,000 angels. Paid professional folks. There's so many we could do. We the people. Oh, there you go.
I think we have too many taglines around here, Chris. That's what I'm learning.
We do?
That's what I'm learning from this.
That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. We got a lot of options.
I think people need to start taking us more seriously, so we need less taglines.
I think people take us very seriously.
Wow.
I would say most of when we are here for serious business painting, they take us very seriously.
Really?
I would say so.
Okay.
That's what the survey says. I don't make up this stuff, Jason. I have actual
I think you make
proof.
up everything you say, actually.
That's false. I have proof. Let's see. I'm going to bring up my forum, dude. Let's look at this. How many of you taken this survey? 127 of you thus far have taken this survey. Do you enjoy watching Monuments Hobbies live stream?
What were their choices?
Here are the choices. Yes, no, silly question, heck yeah, I do. Then the last one is, I'd rather die, but I guess I'd watch and learn something amazing and about painting skills. Eek, JK, I love watching the stream.
Eek, JK.
Eek, oh, I love watching the stream. That's what that is. Come on now.
Come on now.
Silly question, heck yeah, I do, is 48%. 40% says yes. A very fraction, one person said no. And I'd rather die, but I guess I'll watch and learn some amazing painting skills.
Wait a minute. Somebody said no?
One of you did.
Somebody said no?
Somebody said no. That's the part of these surveys. It's hard sometimes.
I can't take the negative. I can't. I can't take the negativity here.
You want to? Here's another. Here's a great question. You ready? What's your favorite paint brand? Choose wisely. Pro Acryl was 100% of the answer because that was your only option. What else we got?
Oh, I love a good
your tags.
Survey.
I wanted to go to your taglines because that's what you were asking about. See, chat, we listen to you on the Monument After Dark.
We don't.
We do.
Oh, wait.
We have hobby and hangs. We go late.
Oh, did somebody say they wanted that?
No, I asked that in the question.
Uh-huh.
I said, would you watch a Monument After Dark stream anytime after 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time? Mountain Standard Time is not an oil company. And then everybody said yes.
And it's been very good.
No, yeah.
I didn't know you would ask a survey question about that.
Of course. Jason, that means you didn't take my survey?
Oh, wait. What I meant to say is that deliciously awesome survey was so long in my past that I had forgotten because there were so many great questions. My piddly little brain can only hold so many episodes of greatness. And that I had in my lesser being self not remembered that the greatness of Christopher had already asked that question. Hence, the reason I then went and asked that question.
You're full of it.
You're full of it.
Here we go.
You're full of it.
I'll get back to your guys' real questions.
I'm gonna make. You realize what I'm doing here, chat?
I've decided not. I'm taking over.
Chris doesn't care. Chris is just over there.
Okay. Here we go. What do you think Jason's most popular catchphrase is? Here are your options. See what I have to put up with, chat? Right? Do.
Never.
Chris, you're fired.
Yep.
I'm going to paint some non-metallic metal on stream today.
Yep.
Hey, gang. Let's start with dark purple or hello. And most of it is see what I have to put up with, chat.
That 44%. Would be my choice. That would be my choice.
44%.
See what I have to put up with, chat?
Yeah.
It's hard being me.
Is it?
Oh, boy.
Where's the... I asked some good questions in here. Okay, here. Out of the options below, who would be a better producer on stream? First option, Christopher. A garden hose. No stream today. Option 4. Do I have to choose or is death an option? Okay, maybe Christopher. And 33.5% said maybe Christopher.
Really?
That's right. And then the others said Christopher. And then 14% of you said, do I have to choose or is death an option? And then 20% of you said option 4 because I just
didn't have one.
And 15% of you said a garden hose.
15% said a garden hose?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I'm telling you, we'll have to. There's a lot that goes into this. Jason, this plethora of knowledge. Anyway, we're back. Let me get this back on track.
I never left. I'm sitting here working.
Take my survey
because it's still between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Monument Standard Time, which is when we work.
If you guys want to take my survey, there you go. I'm going to get this for you right now. Right here. Quablammer. There you go. Take my survey. God bless America.
Red.
So now, Jason.
Sir.
It's about that time. Loosely. What's that?
Excuse me?
It's about that time.
No, it isn't anywhere near that time. I just looked at the clock.
I just wanted to freak you out.
I just looked at the clock. All right. We have Payne's Gray and Dark Plum. It's a beautiful combo. I can imagine an entire army in that color. But not this one. And now we have a very thin Pyro Red.
Lumberjack says, we the people because it's Chris's signature set. And by Chris's signature set, he means fuses. And by fuse, he means chat. And by chat, he means we. Welcome in, everybody. This is Monument Hobbies. Lumberjack Tim couldn't have said it better. This is Jason, for all of you who don't know. And I am Christopher. This is Monument Hobbies. We make pro acrylic and all the hobby products that you see Jason using on a daily basis. And by daily basis, I mean 2 to 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, Monument Standard Time. Monday through Friday. So welcome in. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show.
Professional chat.
If you have a question, make sure you tag at Monument Hobbies. Otherwise, I won't see them because I'll start reading my survey.
Paid professional chat.
M3 Stout says, Monument Hobbies is a new survey or the same one from a month ago? Same one from a month ago. Number 2, part 2.
Part 2.
If you thought part 1 was good,
the survey part 2 is on its way.
Since the dawning of survey part 1, survey part 2 has been commenced. So, be in preparation for that. I'm going to do a full video on your survey when Jason isn't looking. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Yes, it is part 1, M3 Stout. It's PT1, part 1. There will be a part 2. There will be a part 3. A beautiful trilogy.
The immortal words of myself. Oh, God, not another one.
Oh, no, you'll like it. You would have enjoyed my survey if you took it. I kept it with you in mind. You would have enjoyed it.
Or would I have? Or would I?
Stan, that is the whole point. Chat, there will be infinite parts to these surveys. Chris needs an excuse as to why he is slacking off. Stan, in my free time, I work and write these surveys for you. And so that we can gather your precious information. And by information, the ones you give me willingly because you're taking my survey.
I have no idea what he's talking about, Chad. I apologize. I apologize, Chad.
Your answers, your fun riddles, they're great. And I read all of them. I was pleasantly surprised because Google Form gives me like a little beautiful little workup, you know? Shows me on little pie charts what you guys all voted for, and I didn't know that was going to happen. So I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool.
Oh, you got a surprise out of that?
I didn't even know it would do that.
Wow. So that was good for you.
That was great. It was great fun time for me.
Great fun time. So the red just goes on from the top down, but I do, because most of the parts that I'm painting, and most Space Marine parts anyway, are cylindrical, so you got to be careful to kind of rotate the model around a bit so you don't just leave hard staggered edges between shadow and midtone. This red is still just our midtone. This is Pyro Red, thinned way down. We'll go over the top of this with Orange Red. Again, it takes me longer to do this because we're just sectioning it off to arms and legs on these guys. I think I'm really liking it, though.
That Chai Cat says, I've heard airbrush varnish can be hard to work with and can gum up your airbrush. Is this true, / do you have any advice for spraying airbrush varnish?
Just like I said with primer, just make sure that you're not spraying too much of it, meaning that you're not overloading the cup and trying to put too much in the airbrush and spray for long periods of time, because it will gum up. Varnishes and different things other than the normal paint will have different dry times, so they may clog the brush a little bit more. So just don't try to force it, right? Don't ever fill the airbrush cup up more than a quarter of the way full, period, no matter what you're painting.
Yeah.
Right? See how little paint I have in mine? It's really just the paint that goes in the bottom part of the neck and out the front. That's it. Never put more paint than that in your airbrush. A lot of people will fill it all the way to the top of the cup or close, and it's like, whoa. All that paint does is start drying quick.
Check Elf, I don't mention them at staff meetings. The staff would take my surveys. They have. I've sent a survey to the staff.
Did you?
Yeah, about Huey.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Our mascot.
Source says, so in the time Jason primed 9 minis and base coated 9 minis, I brushed primed 2. That's the power of the airbrush. There you go. Is it possible to airbrush on a budget, says Alberto?
Sure. Like we were talking about, there are plenty of airbrushes out there that are very low cost.
Yeah.
That even come with a compressor. Usually the compressor can be the expensive part, but you can get, like, here in the States, I don't know where everybody's located at, but here in the States, you know, on Amazon, you can get the Masters airbrush set. And it comes with a brush. Sometimes it comes with some crappy paints, but those are fun to, you know, practice with. But it comes with that, paint, compressor, whole 9. Not a bad gig. And it's a good brush to learn with. It may not last you forever. It may not be the best, you know, quality. But at that point, what you're trying to do is just get a feel for if airbrushing is for you. And why spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a brush if you don't even know how to airbrush, and you're not certain if you're going to airbrush seriously. And by seriously, I mean, like, you know, need a very high detail brush. If you're just doing base coats and priming, which it's a fantastic force for, as you see me do here, just doing these base coats in multiple colors and working from the prime layer up, it works fantastic, and it makes all of that go so much quicker.
Yeah, TK421's got a good point. Once you get an airbrush, priming is cheaper, cost up front, but overall saves you money and time.
Yeah, 100%. You'll spend much less paint airbrushing.
Yeah, and you could, you know, with a well-ventilated room and maybe like a small, you know, room purifier, you could prime inside with some ventilation.
Yep.
I bought a little air purifier for my room with an ionizer on it. And I can prime inside, or I prime in my garage, but works like an absolute champ. I was so surprised on how well it worked too.
The ionizer?
Yeah, it was like a cheap little one that I put right on my desk and was perfect.
That's great.
You can get them for like $30. So I'm like, I might as well just do this inside. But if you have a big open aired space, it don't matter. Yeah, a lot of you, when Jason airbrushes, that's why I like doing these sometimes, these episodes. We don't typically like prime on stream, but I know a lot of you like airbrush day. A lot of good airbrushing questions. Isn't that right, Jason?
It is a super powerful tool.
It's great. I mean, look, this is like the encouragement stage, right? It's like you're getting paint on the model. There's some hope. Some hope in your army finally getting built and primed and done, and Chris didn't have to prime it. And it's cool.
That's okay, Chris. I got it. So the goal here is to just build up this red over the top so that I get a nice even coat. I let the plum and the Payne's gray still show through, so it gives me good contrast in my shadows. It's easy to lose contrast as you airbrush color over color. But pop in real close. You'll notice that I still have very good darkness up underneath those knee pads, right? Good coloring down the cylinder of the leg, but you can see that purplishness from the Payne's gray and the dark plum adds so much to this red and really becomes the good foundation base point for this entire army. It's what makes the red look have so much depth and look so much better than just, red, painted red.
Dr. Boydzerg, thank you for that raid. Welcome in, Raiders.
Welcome, everybody.
We're airbrushing today.
Hello. More paint on my hands than on the model sometimes, but hey,
You're dilly bar red.
What?
You dilly bar red, man. Your fingers look like you've been chowing down on a dilly bar.
I don't know what to do.
Jen knows what a dilly bar is.
I don't know what to do with this person.
It's surprising that you've never had a dilly bar in your life. Specifically a cherry dilly bar.
You're just making stuff up.
Well, when you come visit me finally, because I've sent him several, actually, probably at this point about 45 different snail mail invitations to my house. I keep doing it in hopes one day he'll come up there. Well,
you know he's lying. He doesn't have a post office, so there is no such thing as snail mail from Chris.
I do actually have a post office. I have to go to the post office to get my mail. So I have the post office. I go to the post office quite often. So when you come up and visit me,
won't happen.
We'll have to go down to the Dairy Queen, get you a dilly bar.
It's a Dairy Queen thing?
Oh, yeah, man.
This is why I haven't tried it. Remember, I don't do Dairy Queen.
You will.
Since they changed the way they serve the Hunger Buster.
I don't know what that is.
Belt Buster.
Hey, Jason, red dilly bars are the way. Slick Willie's Fella Chili Dilly Bar. That's right. Jen says, Monument, is this a rerun or are we talking about dilly bars again? Jen, it's when you show up. And when he primes his models with this red, it looks like dilly bar red. I bring it up every time.
It's my life. It's my life, chat. It's what I have to deal with.
Stan, wow, Chris, I hate to say, but I think that is Jason saying you just were friends. Wow. Maybe you're right, Stan. Maybe it's so.
Chat's smarter than I give him credit for.
What?
What? Excuse me, what?
Source, I should be in bed, but I'm too tired to get out of my chair. Source, go to bed. Get some rest. We'll be back tomorrow from 2 to 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is Monument Standard Time. And not an oil company.
For crying out loud.
I get there.
You can't.
I get there. I get the bit.
You don't. You miss it. You miss the boat every time.
No, I
every
get there.
Freaking time.
Every time I say Mountain Standard Time,
you then immediately remember that you messed up and you go back and do it the other way. There is no Mountain Standard Time anymore. We have replaced that. Presidential decree.
I get there. Yes, Doomsday. We've got red dilly bars. Bo Dilly Bar Red. There you go. That's my 8th Signature Series paint.
Jen,
we already
this
went
man's
over
going to be watching our house. Are we certain about this?
We already went over my Signature Series, chat. It's going to happen. Now my life's goal is to try to get Jason to give me a Signature Series. I'm gonna schedule a meeting right now. Put it on his calendar.
I won't do it.
He'll accept. Oh, you'll accept.
I won't accept that meeting.
What color would Christmas sushi be? It would be yellow-green with a touch of bronze.
I don't know if I can do this anymore, chat.
You can do it. Terrence Watkins says, I finally remember my question. When watching high-end paint work, I notice underpainting plays a big role for depth. How do I know what colors to use for underpainting?
I mean, it's a great question. A lot of times I start with just the low-hanging fruit of cool colors for warm. Warm colors for cool works really well when doing shadow underpainting. If you want to just do nuanced color for armor, you see us doing these Blood Angels with the blue and the dark plum, which gives it kind of a purpley hue underneath. Works well. That can be considered to be a cool and warm undertone for red, but the red is much warmer than either of those colors, so it still gives you the idea that the shadows are cool. So there's that component, color temperature. And then there's things like where you can just do neat, oranges underneath yellow. Gives it a really cool, dirty look. Browns underneath yellow. Anything that isn't really, and I hate to say it, but, you just don't want to paint the color that you want the armor to be in this case, right? So you don't just want to paint red. You want to give that red some depth, like you mentioned, by using other colors to accentuate it. And it really is a lot of testing out, right? You might find a color you really dig. Payne's Gray, dark purple. I use dark purple. It's kind of a joke around here. I use dark purple under almost everything. I feel that purple is one of those colors that is literally the best to underpaint for every color except purple. Because by my own rule there, you don't want to use the color you're painting to, or a hue of the color you're painting to underpaint most of the time. There's a world where you can get away with it. A reddish purple underneath a bluish purple or vice versa can work because some of those colors span, a little bit of a gamut, wider area of temperature and such. So you can do that. But by and large, I'm a fan of things like starting in terms of purples. If I'm painting yellows, then browns work. Same with greens. You can use browns under greens. It's kind of cool.
Tech Elf says, since it's Therapy Thursday, can we get some words of wisdom?
About what?
You tell us, Jason.
Oh, geez.
Give us some words of wisdom.
That's a tough one, man.
What about on painting armies and getting going with your paint project? How would you encourage somebody to just sit down and keep going?
I think don't belabor yourself with the process. Just keep thinking about, the whole where you're headed. Again, it lets you kind of focus on progress more than, that doesn't look great, or, getting too beat up because you only got one Marine painted over the weekend and your army's never going to get finished, right? We can get bogged down and all of that. So I think finding that way for you to not feel bogged down is key when painting. But, I mean, we talk about that all the time. That's not new wisdom. It's that analysis paralysis, that comparison matrix that we do in our head, comparing ourselves to what we see on the internet. Right? It's the enemy of progress. Decide what you want it to be and stick to that. Don't force yourself to have to work harder than you need to on a thing just because you're afraid to show it off on Discord or something like that. None of that matters. You're the only one that needs to be happy.
Doomsday, he doesn't like wearing gloves.
I don't wear gloves. Make my hands sweaty.
Adam says, my biggest problem with the YouTubers is that paint minis is that some say thin your paint to milk-like consistency and it still comes out too thick.
Yeah.
That's why you should use our paint. Works right out of the bottle.
Yeah,
You don't have to mess with any of that.
I'm thinning this red so that I can put it down over the Payne's Gray and the dark plum, but I sprayed the first layers right out of the bottle, so you don't have to thin it all. The mentality that it's like milk, I think, is a little tough, because that doesn't make sense to everybody. You know, some people like skim milk, you know, whole milk. I don't know what that means. Just, you know, I say thin 50-50. You never cause yourself a problem if you thin too much, so long as you don't let the paint spider web on the model and get so thin that it is so runny that it won't adhere the way you want it to. Being thin just means you won't get as much color, so you can put another layer on. So you can always err on that side. If it's too thick, the problem is you put too much paint out, it causes texture, it blows through and doesn't allow your previous color to show, then that's a problem and it's a repaint, right? So over thinning, much easier to compensate for, because you just put another coat on. You just spray another coat on. And that's typically how I like to work, especially with highlighting with the airbrush and things like that, because it allows me to control the amount of color that goes on the model, rather than worrying about, you know, that I spray on there and it's like, oh, that's too much, that's way too bright. What do? Now I got to put a wash on it or paint over it or do something like that. So going thin is always the best idea with an airbrush, or even with a normal brush. So remember, that's always a possibility. And probably the way that I recommend, you know, everybody start out. Like I said earlier, if you're just starting out with an airbrush, being able to thin about 50-50, water to paint, flow improver to paint, you know, you always want to, if you're using flow improver, you typically want to put a little bit of water in with the flow improver too. Don't just use flow improver. I feel like my needle is still hanging up a bit on the seal back there. It definitely is. I think I need to replace this seal. We shall switch to the number 2.
Seal.
Come here. Oh, number 2 doesn't even move.
Seal.
Oh, this is the one that. This is the one that Chris left the yellow paint in.
You fixed it though.
I don't think we did.
You did. You was proof literally online. You got it out.
It's still not working. We'll play with it for a second.
Source says, I don't paint with milk and I don't drink paint, so that advice never made sense to me. Miniac did a milk test compared to how he thins paints, and there was a big difference. Is that a common thing? I guess this is the first time I'm hearing about the whole
A lot of people say to the consistency of milk, and I've always hated that.
Milk?
Like
Isn't that pretty thin?
That's not true. Well, what is, I don't know, how long is a piece of string? There's whole milk, and whole milk's pretty thick.
Yeah, like we're talking heavy cream milk kind of style?
There's skim milk. It's like water. Again, I think it's that you're not worried about the consistency of the paint. That doesn't matter. You're worried about the opacity of the paint, right?
Yeah.
And by getting your opacity right, you're also thinning for consistency, or viscosity, we'll call it. The thinner the viscosity, a lot of times, like we've talked about, I spray Prochor right out of the bottle into my airbrush, and if it won't spray through my airbrush is dirty. It's that simple. I can't put it any simpler to you. Most paints, even thicker hobby paints. Now, I'm not going to say GW wants to spray through an airbrush right out of the pot. It doesn't. I can't think of any of their paints that really want to work that way. So, you know, there is a world where certain paints you're going to have to try harder with to thin them down. And a lot of our competitors' paints start out thicker than ours. But it still shouldn't be that much of a struggle. I'm going to have to clean this. Having airbrush problems today, Chan.
Derpstick says, what PA blue would you use to paint Crimson Fists, and what red would you use for the fist? Crimson Fists? I don't know what the Crimson Fist looks
like. The red I like burnt red, red oxide, you know, that realm of red, I think works really, really well. For the blue, I think that our dark purple with like dark gray blue works really well.
That's cool. So they all have like Crimson Fists.
Hey, Chris.
It's in the name.
It's really in the name.
It's like in the name. In the name. I did not think it was going to be that literal.
Pedro Cantor.
And they all have like, what do they have? They all have like power fists that are red?
That's well, no, they just Maybe in a picture that you're looking at the Allied Power Fist, but
a lot of them have power fists, but I guess it's the Crimson Fists.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Terrace Watkins, when trying to make a color look very vibrant but not doing non-metallic metal, do you still need big jumps, or is it better to add more colors to build up its vibrancy?
Well, big jumps in value, if we're talking about, are only for the appearance of shininess, right? You want to do more layers of color when building any color. It doesn't matter if it's vibrant or dull. You still want to do more layers if you're just blending for like cloth and things like that. If you make big jumps in value, then you wind up with it not looking like the material you're talking about. That can cause a problem. So always remember that. And then if you're wanting to make it look metallic, right, shiny, then you would take bigger jumps before your final highlight or your final couple of highlights to give it that reflective quality. That's the deal.
Isophist says, I'm guilty, but I try to remember the motivation and inspiration come after action. Just put paint on it. Thank you so much for those 32 months, by the way.
100%. It's tough, right? When we sit down and we have limited time to paint, and you're like, gosh, I was motivated to paint that. Now I'm not. A lot of times it's easy to get, let's just think about it. Why aren't you? If you had something you were excited about and now you're not excited about it, ask yourself why. A lot of times with painting, I truly believe it's because you did something you didn't like. You put something on the model and it didn't look the way you wanted it to, and you get bummed out and you quit. Don't do that. It really is as simple as don't do that. Paint over it. Nothing we do is brain surgery. There's no point in painting where you can't just paint over it.
Yeah.
Why our paints are lighter weight, right? They feel thinner, air quotes thinner, than other paints, is specifically for that, so that you can just paint. You don't have to worry about it. There's no pressure. There's no right or wrong. There's not a problem with, painting over something. You'll see me do it all the time. Like, nah, that color didn't work right. And they just paint over it. Who cares?
Stan says, I saw a pretty gimmicky thing. Someone was using the glass with a section of your paint blob. One second. Let me read this. This is a long thing you're saying, Stan. One second.
Chris has a hard time with words.
Why
use big word when little word?
I saw a pretty gimmicky thing. Someone was using this glass with a section of your paint blob. You dabbed a blob of paint, then turned the glass 90 degrees and down the side to increase the scale of the PSI to spray the paint at. What is your thought on this?
Are we talking about loading an airbrush? You dabbed a blob of paint, then turned the glass 90 degrees and down the side. It had an increasing scale of what PSI that paint wants to be at?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
So it's like a scale?
Yeah.
See, you put a paint blob on there, and as you rotated it and it dripped, it would tell you what PSI would spray that based on how far it dripped down the scale. And that could be legit. The thicker it is, the higher the PSI on the scale, right? So the shorter the drip was, the greater the PSI would have to be, right? I can see that being possible. It's not necessary, but for a beginner, it might be something that helps you a lot. I mean, you literally just get the feel for it, right? You don't have to spray very long to just be like, I get it now.
Stan says, sorry, using a phone, exactly that, Jason.
Yeah, I can see that being a thing. I don't know how mathematically they do that because, again, PSI is largely dependent upon like barometric pressure in the area you're at, humidity, right? You're not going to just set it at 22 PSI and have it act the same as you travel the globe. It's going to act very different in a very humid climate versus a very dry climate. You might have to adjust, 1 or 2 PSI or greater as you go.
Better Off Ted says, what airbrush pipe cleaner brushes are you using? Where can I get them?
The Grex ones. We used to sell them. I think you can get them just on like eBay and stuff. Look at me.
Non-metallic Meatball says,
Love that name.
Theoretically, if someone were to step away from the hobby for a few months,
as we do,
or if they identified a number of paints that they won't use for a length of time, are there any considerations for storing paints to ensure that they maintain quality when they resume? Will
they have to
leaving
be
them
sealed.
stored untouched for long periods of time degrade quality?
They have to be sealed. End of story. To my knowledge, we make the only sealed bottles in the industry. So there may be some other people that have copied our bottles. I think I've seen a couple of companies that use a similar bottle. There's some new bottle types out there that I'm not familiar with, but you need to make sure the bottle is sealed. Because the problem is if any air can escape or enter into the bottle, which in normal dropper caps they can, even though it seems like it has a cap on it and it's tight, it's still not sealed, still not airtight. And that can cause a problem over time because as temperature change outside, the air contracts and expands inside the bottle, and it will force itself out as it expands. It will suck air from outside in, and that will alter the composition of the paint over time. Evaporation, drying out, separation. So you have to be careful with all that. What the?
There might be a cockroach or something they found.
I need not screaming in my office would be nice.
Let's see, air compressor recommendations from Terrence Watkins.
You're asking us to give you some air compressor recommendations?
Yeah.
We use a California air compressor. It's got some long numeric serial number on it. I don't know what it's called, but it's fairly quiet. I think it's called their Quiet Tech or something like that. I don't really remember. It's a great one. We've been using it for years.
Mitsuku, what paints are you using? We make and use Pro Acryl.
We are Pro Acryl. Right now I'm using Orange Red. We are Monument Hobbies. Welcome if you're new around here. We are the manufacturers of Pro Acryl, along with all of our other Pro Series brushes and amazing hobby products. We do this stream every day. It's coming to a close here in 10 minutes. I'm going to try to get this orange red on these so that I can have 9 guys that I've at least got the red done on today. Feels like progress. This is one of those things we were talking about. You know, being able to step back yesterday, we worked to kind of finish one of the test models that is for the Praetorian Guard for our army. We're doing these Blood Angels, and it's all non-metallic metals. And, you know, I will call it fairly high-end work. It's not display quality work, but it is very high-end for just an army of 72 dudes. And so I'm going through and on all the different types of units that I'm doing, I'm trying to do like a sample model so we can get an understanding of what I want them all to be. And then I'll go through and paint the rest of the squads based off of that sample model. But as I'm doing it, each of those groups of sample models, I've gone through and done all the base colors on them, more of the Praetorian Guard. All have at least the base coat. So the reds are all the same, and the base for everything that I'm doing on the brushes will be very similar. Same thing that I'm doing here. All of these Dawn Guard, Host, Sentinels, whatever they're called, are all have the same basis for the reds. And then I'll take one, paint him to completion, and we'll have a good look and feel for how that unit's going to be, and then go back and paint the rest of them. Because I'm trying to vary stuff to a level where each unit can have its own personality, but not be completely different than everything else I painted, so that it doesn't take years to paint each squad differently. Although it's not obviously not happening very quick anyway. When you're taking this kind of time to paint, you go in. So again, each one of my colors is going to want to come from the top as I go into the orange red. I'm going to start, rather than full blast spraying, I'm just going to kind of spritz color on here more than anything else.
Ozzy's asking, will there be any Terminators in this army?
No. It's all assault bros. 72 things with jump packs, including the dreadnoughts. So I painted up a Saturnine Terminator thinking that I would use some of the Saturnines with the Deep Strike, but then when the 3rd edition rules really hit home for me, I was like, oh, but you can't charge out a Deep Strike, and you can only Deep Strike one model a turn, so that's garbage. Worst rules ever. So now my army is useless, but I'm still having fun with it.
Vitals is asking, do you use a moisture trap on your air compressor?
Yeah. There's one right here next to my bench. Right? It never has any water in it. We live in such a dry climate that it never has any water. I never run it enough for it to really be a problem, but it never has any water in it. I've never once in Arizona had to empty an air trap for our studio air compressor. I have had to do it for our production air compressors all the time. We use a lot of air compressors where we make the paint, and those have to be emptied and checked all the time because they run continuously, so they get hot, and the condensation from just the heat the machine makes as it operates is what causes all the air in the trap.
Isophis says, question, is the recipe you're using for the Blood Angels the same as methodology 18 on your website? If this is different, will you be adding this methodology?
I don't remember. I think that the methodology for 18 is the older Blood Angels.
I believe so.
I don't believe that we have a methodology with the Payne's Gray, because that was before we had Payne's Gray as a color. And Dark Plum was not existent then. So, yeah, these are newer. I did this, I don't know, the first one over a year ago, I think. But, yeah, new. And there's no reason why we couldn't do one for this. Ask and you shall receive. I don't know when we'll do it, though.
It's close, but yeah, not the same.
Well, I didn't use Payne's Gray or Dark Plum, so it's not close.
Just
Pyro Red.
Dark purple.
Yeah.
Burnt red, golden yellow, pale pink.
Red transparent?
No, this is your red armor.
Said golden yellow?
Yeah.
If I used golden yellow,
then
there was red transparent, or Bold Pyro Red filter. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm going to say I had to filter something back over the top if I used yellow on it. Similar method of painting it, just different colors.
TechL says, can't wait to see a giant base for all these models to sit on.
Giant base? Oh, like an army presentation thing? That would be rad. I don't know if I have it in me to do that, but that's what Chris loves to do. So maybe Chris will honor us by building a really cool army base, diorama base. There you go, Chris. What do you think?
I'll get right on it.
Okay, cool. I don't think he's as excited about it as I am.
I'm not. It sounds like a lot of work.
He just said the other day that that's the stuff you like to do. So I see what's happening here.
Not this one. That one sounds like a lot to do. Plus, these are already all base, so how would we do that?
You'd have
I
to
guess
make
you could just do
have to make a bunch of slate.
You can make a rocky base.
Yeah. See, chat? No love here. Like
Speaking of no love, we're just about out of time, everybody.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
There's an FLGS link. Also, here's the YouTube link and our Discord link. Oops, I misspelled that. My bad. Discord. There you go. Discord.
Speaking of Discord tutorials, Hall of Methodologies, with all the text as part of the image, you can't search it for things like leather.
Yeah, we're working on updating all that. I was just typing that to you, Spaznat. We are doing some different things over on our educational portions of our website that we will be updating very soon. Be a lot easier to search for things and find things.
Yeah, those methodologies date back
a long time.
A lot of years.
They've been around.
I was doing those since, well, I don't know. I don't think I did any before. They weren't called that before we made ProAcryl. But I've been doing those kind of tutorials since before we were even making paint.
Here, let's see. Here is the pages he's talking about. Boop. Nice.
Only 4 more models, Chris. We can do this.
All right. Tommy Frontsea says, I have it in my mind to make a big diorama scene from my guys with the appropriate circles cut out. Yeah, see, that'd be cool. That'd be a lot of work.
It's the circle cutouts that are the biggest pain in the butt.
That was where my mind went instantly when thinking about that.
But
like, okay.
I have a 32 millimeter counterbore bit.
Oh, yeah.
That you can, I forget what they're called. They have a name, and I forget what the name is all the time. It's a weird name.
You could build it in that way.
The type of bit that you can, it just does a nice flush counterbore. It just has a little bitty pinprick hole in the middle of it. And it's fantastic.
Yeah. That would be good for that.
I believe I have, I may have 25 and 40, but you can get a 32 millimeter one for these bases. I don't know. It's a lot of work, like Chris says, so it's a lot
cool,
of investment. It's neat, but it just has to determine, again, I'm always focused on, okay, what is this meant to be? I love the idea because, like I've said, I really just want this Army to be something that's cool to look at in the case. I'm not doing it necessarily. I'll play with it, but it's not meant to be like some big tournament Army or anything. So that might be fun to build like a big Army presentation board for it. But good God, that's like as much work as doing the painting the Army at some point. Can you imagine like having that? Would be so bitching with the Thunderhawk on the base.
Yeah, it would be cool. Be big. So, Jason, callback question from Wired. Dual coil Kaplan with a 3-round needle or a new airbrush? Which is better tool? Question mark.
Dual coil, what are we saying?
Kaplan? Dual coil Kaplan with a 3-round needle or a new airbrush? Which is a better tool?
What we're talking about two different things.
Yeah,
right?
Wired. I'm not really sure what your question is asking.
I think
you might need to clarify
it, right? Because if I'm correct, isn't one of those a tattoo machine?
Sounds like it. Brent says, I want to paint my 30K salamanders on the black sands of Istvan. I'm really tempted to paint my box like the Shattered Legions, but I don't think the rules for that army are all that great, but I'm not 100% sure.
I just saw them today, and so I didn't get a chance to really look at them, so I can't help you with whether or not they're good or not, but it would be thematic, right? Okay. I think it's something like that. If you're doing Black Shields or Shattered Legions or something like that, you're doing it solely for theme. Kind of like I am with these Blood Angels, right? All Assault Blood Angels is horrible. After playing this weekend, I can pretty much guarantee I have picked the worst choice. Do not be me if you intend to play competitively. I do not believe that my army, other than being able to general it well to maybe, secure enough victory points, if playing in a narrative event, you might still be able to pull it off. You are not going to win at fighting people, I don't think. I guess it depends a lot on terrain and how you size up the terrain, maybe. But I didn't take a look at the Black Shield stuff today. They released it today.
Yeah, Wired saying Kaplan is a tattoo machine from the 70s. Sorry, ask him about which he would prefer.
I'm not into historic stuff. I don't care. I have some custom built machines that I think are great. From Joya to Infinity Tattoo that he made years ago. I don't know if he's even still around. I have amazing godlike machines, old coil driven machines. I've never used the newer non-coil machines, USB rechargeable tattoo machines. So I'm not in that world enough to know, to be able to speak to it anymore. But I'm also not a guy that cares about nostalgia. I just don't, I'm that guy that pisses everybody off because I'm like, I don't know. I think Sailor Jerry tattoos are horrible. I get the history behind them, but I'm like, whatever. So I'm not a big nostalgia guy. So I think that I would definitely take the new airbrush because I'd use it.
There you go. I think that answers your question, Wired.
That's not a very hip answer, but.
New coiled machines are poop, says Wired. It's like apples and oranges. Yeah, it is kind of a whole different kind of question there. Two different things going on.
I just have never. I get that the new ones with the rotating, whatever it is, are kind of neat and supposedly more ergonomic and don't wear out your hand as much. I just wouldn't know. It's like we talked about earlier with the airbrush. It's like once you've used the top trigger for so long, getting used to the feel of a pistol grip can be jarring for people. I think with tattoo machines, I would be the same way. I would be like, I'm so used to the feel of one. You know, you get used to the way it moves in your hand, and then you have to adjust you have to recognize the difference in feel with that coil and rubber band and you know, standard machine working to feel it go into skin and to feel the resistance of skin and how you're pushing ink and all of that. And I feel like if I picked up another one, I might not recognize like how deep I was going or how I was pushing ink if it was softer in feel of the machine, if the machine didn't have that buzz and that feel in the hand. But if it meant your hand didn't fatigue over time, that'd be rad. I'm gonna be real honest. If it meant you could, I don't tattoo anymore, so you know I haven't in years. But you know, if I were to start again, one of the biggest things that I always hated is trying to, you know, do long sittings and just have my hand go numb.
The new one's like holding a pen, says Lumberjack.
Yeah, they don't move, right? Interesting. I love the tech behind it. I find that to be very interesting. So you can see where we are. We've done the Pyro Red and then the Orange Red base, and what we have left to do is the first highlight of salmon, the Eclectic Salmon. And then once we do the Eclectic Salmon, then we do the Pyro Red filter over the top of it to get it all back to red. So still a little bit of work to do, but you can see how in the shadows I've got the right color build up, and we're getting really good contrast on them. So, nice. And then these guys, the shoulders and chest are going to be black, I think.
Yeah.
I might paint the shoulders some other color, but the chest at least will be black, which is why I've been trying to keep. I got a little overspray on like the cod piece and stuff in the middle there, but for most part, I was able to keep the red where I wanted it. A little bit of overspray where I'll do the non-metallic trim on the shoulders, but nothing that can't be done. And we'll do most of the other parts with brush anyway. I was hoping to do a little bit of the base coating and work on the black with the airbrush, so I might be able to do a little bit of the chest, but I don't know that I'd be able to do this without masking everything. And in that case, I might as well just do it all with brush. So I'll play around with it more and we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Spear Bros, base coated. Thank you. Mo, we won't be doing tonight anyway. We're doing tomorrow. So that Philip can join us.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have some fun hanging out. I don't know. Maybe we'll get some other people on Friday.
Yeah, I think so. We
always open it up to the whole team here, and we've got seats for like at least 3.
We can make it work. 4.
3 or 4 plus me.
I'll just put the camera back further.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be pretty. None of us are pretty, so. The further the camera away, the better.
The further the way, the better.
The better. Stroke penetration and straight insert are a big problem with the new ones, which is what I found with my last 2 pieces, Wirehead. Oh, okay. Yeah. I feel like I might over penetrate and get like blowout, right? I don't know. I just... Sometimes it's like when I tattooed my mom, I felt really bad because her skin was just... It was impossible to not get blowout. And I did a hummingbird on her, and the outside has a little bit of a haloing, but it's just her skin, the age that she got it. So, but you posted on Discord, Rattlecan. I posted for tomorrow.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I changed it. I posted for tomorrow, Rattlecan.
The 10th.
It says the 10th tomorrow, Friday the 10th. Read the post. I didn't change it. I didn't change it. Making flatbread pizzas tonight, Doomsday. Make me one. FedEx. It's your friend. At least your painting is pretty... Thank you, Stan. Thank you, Stan. Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you're new around here, whether on YouTube or over here on the Twitcherinos, please hit the follow and the subscribe buttons. Sign up for alerts when we go live. We do this 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, Monument Standard Time, right here from Phoenix HQ headquarters for Monument Hobbies. We'd love to see you back. Boo, you thought it was today. Tomorrow, Rattlecan, sorry. Yeah, we had thought about doing it today, but Chris had come through, and Philip is off tomorrow and was talking about he'd love to take part, but he has to leave early today.
Yeah.
And he wants to be here, so we always love to have as much participation around the office as possible. And Friday's good because then I don't feel like I'm pressed to get out of here, right? Because then it's the weekend, so that's good. So about if Fuse did it, I'd get a Monument M tattooed on me. We've talked about me bringing my rig and doing tattoos, but I would literally have to like tattoo my entire right thigh to get back into practice, and that's not something I'm really interested in doing right now. But thank you. I've seen sponging her pretty close to an airbrush, not exact, but the closest I've seen. Yeah, it's still just not able to give that soft edge. But sponging with those new makeup sponges that you see people using that look like an egg, can get a really nice feathering around edges and blending, just kind of like a smudge brush does. But because it doesn't have it will still smudge. Yeah. Because anything that goes to a point when you press it into a surface smudges. So again, it's going to have a little bit more contrast that it creates than an airbrush on normal. But yeah, both of those can get close. But thanks so much for hanging out with us. Hit the follow button. We'd love to see you back here. Make sure to check out the links that Chris put up in chat, monumenthobbies.com, where you can buy our paint and brushes. We'd love to have you support us more. Next time you have some holes in your own hobby products, give us a try. You'll love the product. And we make fantastic paint and supplies for your hobby journey. Come along with us for the ride. Join the Discord. We got over 6,000 amazing artists just like yourselves. Tons of good inspiration over there. Bad jokes, recipes, making friends. Good times all around. So we'd love to see you in all of the locations. Come hang out with us. Stick around. Chris is going to find you somebody to raid. Show some love in the chat we wind up in. And we'll catch you back here tomorrow. Adios, gang.
Take it easy, guys.